Welcome to KPMG's pre-budget 2025 discussion. I'm Claire Davey and today we're discussing key issues shaping Ireland's upcoming budget set for October 1st this year. Budget 2025 is expected to focus on employment costs, housing and healthcare, climate action and maintaining Ireland's competitiveness in the face of global tax changes. There's also a drive to support SMEs and boost domestic entrepreneurship to broaden our economic base and secure long-term prosperity. To unpack all of this, joining me today are Jean McCabe, CEO of Retail Excellence Ireland, and Mairead Hennessy, President of County Kildare Chamber of Commerce. I might start with you first, Jean. A proposed budgetary package of 8.3 billion, of which 1.4 billion is earmarked for tax measures. What are retailers hoping to see?
Well, as you know, retail is the backbone of the Irish economy, and it has been a very stressful first half of the year for many retailers dealing with the rising cost of doing business, and that is down to employment costs, auto-enrolment, pension, sick day pay, and an avalanche of costs actually between red tape and bureaucracy of just doing business. So for us, we're looking for the budget to alleviate some of that pressure that businesses are feeling, and in that we've asked for a reduction in VAT, both the lower and higher rates of VAT, because it's a simple analysis. If you're an SME managing your costs and your P&L, if the costs go up on one side, they have to come down on the other if they're going to balance. And what we're seeing is a lot of businesses are now operating in the red, and they certainly need support from government. Those supports, while appreciated in terms of measures around incentives to invest in digitalisation and in the sustainability, but really it comes down to the fundamental core costs of doing business. And we have to look at those core costs. No industry can be dependent on supports or grant aid. And what we've asked for is reduction in VAT being a core cost for a lot of businesses, and something like that would help alleviate some of that pressure.
And that really aligns, Jean, with what we're hearing on the ground from many of our retail clients. And what precise tax measures with regard to the rising cost of doing business would you like to see?
Certainly around PRSI would be a welcomed approach. That cost of employment has certainly been a real challenge for businesses. And when you consider, the increase in insolvency rates at the moment for retail and hospitality is staggering, and they have seen the highest increases. It's no coincidence that the sector most impacted by the increase in minimum wage is also retail and hospitality. So it's certainly very clear that the cost of employment is a huge part for businesses. And a reduction in PRSI would help alleviate that also. While I don't think it's going to be enough, certainly if we look at the trajectory for the national minimum wage and that move to the national living wage, I think the other core cost within the business that government does control is VAT, and I certainly think that area has to be looked at.
Turning to SMEs, Mairead, what tax measures would really help Irish businesses to grow and scale?
Irish SMEs need help and support to grow and scale both domestically and internationally. We are focusing on several key issues. In particular, we would really like to see the current €1 million lifetime threshold for CGT entrepreneur relief increased beyond that. I think that would really bring about increased investment into Irish businesses. We're also hoping for an expansion to the EIAS scheme. That's the Employment Investment Incentive Scheme. And I think, again, that would really foster investment into Irish businesses, badly needed capital. R&D tax credits are another crucial issue. They need to be made more accessible to SMEs, and that will help then in turn to foster innovation. We need to look at the investment in infrastructure, not just physical infrastructure like housing and roads, but digital infrastructure to really support hybrid and remote working. The goal here is for Irish businesses to grow and scale internationally, and that means better support for entrepreneurs, better funding for SMEs.
Jean, to address future challenges and investment in critical infrastructure, the government is establishing two new long-term savings funds, the Future of Ireland Fund and the Infrastructure, Climate and Nature Fund. How do you see these funds impacting the retail sector, particularly in light of the ongoing housing challenges, for example?
I certainly think the funds could be a game changer if used strategically, but it's all about the long-term and the short-term approach. So if we look at retail and we see the short-term challenges that retail has, it's all about town centre rejuvenation, building that community around retail, making it a safe environment, and ensuring that government actually invests in that to ensure that experience for the consumer. We look at housing and how that has impacted on the retail sector and on every sector really within the Irish economy, certainly driving up the cost of living, which then trickles down and has an effect on retail. So it's all about the short and long term approach. Short term, we'd love to see an investment into town centre rejuvenation and into making our streets safe and an enjoyable place to shop. And in the short term as well, an investment into housing, which would certainly help investment into retail.
And that's a crucial point, Jean, you know, balancing the long-term, you know, planning objectives with the immediate needs for, you know, for targeted measures, which will be really challenging for the government. But I think it's really vital that they get that balance right in this upcoming budget. And sticking with that delicate balance, Mairead, and in light of global tax changes, you know, how can Ireland remain competitive?
Yeah, and it is a critical issue, Claire. You know, like that with global tax reform now taking centre stage, in Ireland we really need to move beyond our 12.5% corporation tax rate. We need to keep the cost of doing business down. We need to keep Ireland competitive and continue to attract top talent. We need, as part of attracting top talent, we need a simplified personal tax system. It is a complex system, and for people moving in and out of Ireland, it can be quite burdensome. From an SME perspective, measures that we're looking for improvements on are, as I've said already, the R&D tax credit, the KEEP scheme where employees get share options, and you know the KEEP scheme could be a really good way for SMEs to attract and retain talent where maybe they can't match the salary levels of larger multinational companies, but that KEEP scheme really needs to be fit for purpose, and I think changes are needed there. We also need to see improvements, as I've said already, in infrastructure around digital working, hybrid and digital working. Again, that's really, really important to foster attracting and retaining top talent.
Mairead, Jean, thank you so much for your insights today. A lot to consider, so really thank you. It's clear both retail and SMEs have specific needs Budget 2025 must address, while also considering the long-term economic stability through these new funds. The challenge, of course, will be balancing the immediate sector-specific needs with broader economic goals, and we at KPMG will be watching closely as the budget detail emerges, ready to analyse and guide you through it.